Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Blessings by the grace of Almighty God to each and every one of you. It's a pleasant Sunday afternoon, and I just would like to take this time to extend to each and every one of you on this Sunday a pleasant Sunday, and may Almighty God richly bless you and your families. Last Friday, we had an insightful discussion, and I hope so. Not just a conversation and perspective shared, but I hope as I take the time every time I would engage persons and say I would hope that persons learn, I can assure you I too take this opportunity to learn. So it's a learning curve for so many people, and I don't take for granted two very important things, especially when it comes to knowledge. Very important thing. One is the ability to listen and learn, and the ability to have the patience to teach. Very important. Very, very important. So I am open, like anyone else, to learn what is happening. And the 1st of September 2025 provided for so many of us an opportunity to learn. And last Friday presented us with an even better opportunity to learn. And I know that persons are many times, in the absence of knowledge, very disappointed when provided with information that would correct them on things that they have not believed in some time. So more so when those things are being misrepresented deliberately, and when people are out there misleading people. So I think what we did last Friday was give a good opportunity to explain just how representative democracy works, and to explain to you, voters, that the process is not completed at the 1st of September. And I've always said this to persons, even as an elected official, as your former chairman, I've always said to people, once you have invested in an election, you have every right to maintain your involvement in the process to the next election. You don't cast your ballot after that election and then leave that to your politicians, because many times you'll be misled. You know, I'm telling you that because what we saw recently, when many people left the process on the 1st of September and left it up to politicians, you left yourselves to the interpretation of the process going forward by those politicians. And I think last Friday what I attempted to do was to explain to you that after the 1st of September, the process continued, and the process continues in terms of representative democracy. The outcome of last Friday, very disappointing to some people who don't understand the process. And if you take the time to understand the process, you will recognize that in Region 10 in particular, coming out of the elections for the chairmanship of the region, that the Win Party was misleading and continues to mislead the public and the electorate on what occurred. So let me just say where I am in this process. As an APNU representative and as someone who was critically involved, very, very involved in the outcome of last Friday in Region 10, I attempt now to give you a synopsis. I am not someone who is not aware and au fait with the negotiating and negotiations. And not because I want to claim of my ability to negotiate, not of the fact that I hold public office, but my experience in the past have given me an opportunity where I've had the very good privilege to work in alongside some of the best negotiators in this country, whether those are Carl Greenidge, even Comrade Aubrey Norton, and persons like Rupert Roopnaraine and Nigel Hughes, among others. And this would be at times when we had to negotiate with the then government with Dr. Roger Luncheon, and we came out with a very, very successful agreement. And I'll give you one, the 21st of August agreement, that took 11 months to negotiate. And at the end of that, Linden today has not paid an increase in electricity bill, 14 years on. So I'm not someone who is proclaiming that in our attempt to have an outcome, a very amicable outcome, that would have recognized in this region a matter that would not have brought any contention, and that would have been the council's election for the regional chairman. Very important. And what we did in those negotiations, and because I understand the dynamics of negotiations, I even had the opportunity to learn, and you know, it's good that we can take the time when we are speaking to teach each other. I had the privilege also, outside of actual negotiating and actual successful negotiations, to learn at the University of Ghana. There's an entire year program called Diplomacy and Negotiations, very important. And on the first principle of engagement with representatives from WIN to negotiate the outcome of the regional chairman position, we told our emissaries that they are to engage on the principle of Humes. On the principle of Humes. Very important. So that they understand what the principle of Hume means is to ensure that there is honesty, H, understanding in the U, mutual respect in the M, empathy in the E, and S in the solution. Those were the principles under which they were to engage any person from WIN. I can say this to you, as a critical, involved individual in this matter, I myself, no one can say that they have ever been engaged by yours truly. But what I can say is that on the principles of Hume's, which was honesty, to ensure we have understanding, mutual respect, empathy, and solution-oriented, our emissaries were very disciplined. So we started on 3 levels in these negotiations, 3. And we didn't start from the anchored position in negotiation, which is the very top. We started from the very bottom. There is where the dishonesty comes in. Because from the very bottom, our first proposal would have been to have our councillors, which are 5, to represent several committees. In fact, just 2. We said we come into this thing saying to persons in Win, more so Mr. Gorin, give us 2 committees. You hear where it came from? Give us 2 committees. Story done. You see how Friday could have been simple? 2 committees. And we don't come to these conversations without receipts. We don't come to these conversations without receipts. Can you imagine? Persons are out there misrepresenting when on the Hume's principles of negotiation, which represented honesty, and I'll keep repeating it, because we did not just stumble into discussions on an outcome that is in the best interests of the people of Region 10 and ultimately Guyana. We are not newcomers to this. I just give to you, outside of practical experience of negotiating, I give to you the theoretical understanding of negotiations. And the first principle of our application, which represented the Hume principle of honesty, understanding, mutual respect, empathy, and to be solution-oriented, is where our emissaries engaged, in particular Mr. Mark Gorin, to say to him, all we wanted were 2 committees. Story done. And he will get our support for the regional chairman. He said no. He said no. Can you imagine that? Now the APNU is being accused of all manner of things in Region 10, when at the first position, not the anchored position in negotiations, it's called the anchored position when you go to the very top. And I can tell you this, because in our negotiations, and I'll have a nice discussion on how these things go in terms of knowledge and experience. When we went to the negotiations of the 21st of August, the anchored position for us was to have the Prime Minister resign. That is what we wanted Sam Hines to go. Will we get that? It was the anchored position. We know what we wanted. For Linden not to pay an increase in electricity rates, which we got. So we didn't start at the anchored position in discussions with Mr. Gorin. We started from the very bottom position, which is to give us 2 committees. He said no. Can you imagine that? Here comes the next response after that emphatic no. Our task, this is coming from, we have receipts when we speak. Their task, not only to exclude from the committees that we ask about, but it is to bury the People's National Congress. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine our emissaries being told that? Okay. We are still negotiating on the first principle of negotiations, the Hume principle. So we did not leave Because as someone who understands diplomacy also, yours truly, what does diplomacy say? That even in the worst of conflicts, you keep dialogue open. So even though we felt how we would have felt, anybody hearing that you're not going to get 2 committees, and besides, it is because our intention is to bury your party. Diplomacy says you never cut the art of dialogue. We maintain our engagement. What did we do after then? Second attempt to Mr. Gorin. Gave us the vice chairmanship. Because with the vice chairmanship, you're going to get support from the APNU with regards to X, Y, and Z. This is our second approach to our emissaries. We were told that the Win Party had already identified their vice chairman, and as such, we will not be getting the vice chairman. However, you can look forward now for this and that committee. Now let me say what happened in that second position. Some trust, in fact, a lot of trust would have been eroded coming from that first sincere Hume's approach in negotiating. Very sincere we were. How do you then, in good faith, even though the art of dialogue says you maintain conversation, the worst of wars are being fought, and I can assure you, people ain't stop talking. We know that. We maintain conversation with the Win representatives. More so Mr. Gorin. More so Mr. Gorin. He said no. They already have their vice chairman. So Region 10, Guyana, this matter could have been settled twice. Twice. Before it got to last Friday. And at every point, the Win people were promised to be given the chairmanship of this region. Every time. No one can deny that. And like I said, we have our receipts. I said to you last Friday just how wicked, just how misleading. The union people last week told us that the Win Party came to Linden and misrepresented their involvement in the both sides struggles of those 600 workers. I did not say it. It was Mr. Lorenzo Joseph who put on his Facebook page twice, in fact 3 times, to call out in particular, show us where you were involved so that these workers received an increase. Silence. Misrepresenting and lying on their involvement in the struggles with the union. I said nothing. My name was called by the representative as an involved party. So those were the 2 positions advanced, and where Mr. Gorin himself said to us, no, you not get 2 committees. First principle on the Humes, which we applied in this negotiation, of honesty, of understanding where we are where we are. We're with 5 seats. Of mutual respect. Of course, we have to mutually respect this party that has now gotten the popular votes, not the majority, in a contest with 4 other parties, but the popular vote. We respect you. And more so, we empathize with the environment and the situation, HUMES, H-U-M-E-S, and we are solution-oriented. We were told on that second approach, you will not get the vice chairmanship. So you see where this matter could have ended? We have not advanced as yet our desire to have the chairmanship of Region 10. Win was always given that priority, and we have our receipts. Win was always given that priority. Hear what was said to us when we asked for the vice chairmanship. They have already identified their candidates. Now let me say, when we heard you can't get 2 committees and we intend to bury the PNC in Region 10, we are not worried. The PNC is a strong institution. I think I know it. We see enough body blows in this institution. If you know history or you're a student like myself and like reading, you will see how many times the PNC went down, up, up, down, and we ain't going nowhere. So we weren't intimidated by that. We found that to be not only reckless chatter, but we found it as what it is, very immature and reckless. Very immature. Vice chairman is where we wanted, vice chairman. What was said to Mr. Blair? Because we asked him, you know why we asked Mr. Blair to assume the role of one of our emissaries on this particular request? Because Mr. Mark Gorin, while serving as former regional vice chairman, was given unwavering support to our party for him to be the vice chairman after the late Douglas Gittins by Mr. Dominic Blair and Mr. Deron Adams. Those 2 men placed their entire political career on the line for Mr. Gorin, who party comrades thought after Mr. Gittins, a party comrade from the PNC passed, it should have been a next party comrade. These 2 young men said no. Mark is capable, he's able. They give him all of our political capital and ammunition and sent him off into the sub-region. And he took that and he turned it over to another political party. So we said, well, Mr. Blair, I think we can still get Mr. Gorin to at least listen to you. Let him know what our intentions are at that time with our second principle, what our intention is. That we would like to have you as our vice chairman. He said to Mr. Blair, no. That Mr. Blair would do well to stay in the municipality and become the mayor. This is Mr. Gorin. We maintain our HUME's principle of negotiating. We weren't moved by this. To be quite frank, we weren't. Disappointed, of course. Disappointed, of course. What do you do then? In all sincerity, given the Win party 2 very simple positions, which would have given them the chairmanship without any contention. Without any contention. First, give us 2 committees. No. Second, give us the vice chairman by someone who you have worked with and who you know. Said no. So how do you now call this APNU group of people traitors? how do you call this group of APNU people sellout? The leader of the party, Mr. Aubrey Norton of the PNC, leader of the APNU, placed our position in the public. We went independent. We say, all right, we know this game. We will put then our candidate, once nominated, our support behind our candidate. That is the third thing that happened. We placed simply a candidate in the race in Mr. Blair. Secret ballot. Again, the APNU did not advance secret ballot. I am saying to you, as one of the principles in this process and outcome, no one can say Sharma Solomon approached anyone from Wynn, anyone from Forward Guyana, or anyone from the People's Progressive Party. We simply said in our caucus, once our nominee goes up, we expect, there is no guarantees. There are no guarantees in a secret ballot, but we expect our candidates, our councillors to stand solidly behind our nominee, Mr. Blair. How is it now you are hearing collusion? With who? And how? You know what happened? Someone got greedy and arrogant and now have to explain not only to their following, but to their masters why they screwed up such a very simple process. And instead of taking full account and responsibility, you're throwing all sort of aspersion and casting all sort of blame on others. So we placed our candidate, our nominee in the ring. In a secret ballot, I see some of the media houses. I'll call a name. I see Village Voice. I see Demerara Waves. I see saying HPG Nightly News TV that the People's Progressive Party sided with the APN in a secret ballot, which we never promoted and which Wynn objected to. But you know, again, they don't know the rules of the game, because an objection could have stood if they knew what to do. They don't know the rules of the game, and now they want to blame everyone. Let me go further to this. Our 5 councillors, as of the morning of Friday, had people knocking at their doors and calling their phones, making all sorts of offers to them. And I tell you, we don't talk without receipts. So how do we now become the sellout? 2 candidates, 2 nominees in fact, enter the race. Who are we selling to when we have 1 in the race? Who are we selling out to? Are we not expected to give Mr. Blair our support? Wherever, as I said, the other 4 support came from, and I can't even say 4, because in a secret ballot, who knows where the 9 came from? Who knows? So how are we concluding that FGM, Forward Guyana, voted for the APNU? How you know that? How you know that? How you know the PPP supported the APNU in Region 10? How you know that? How you then know is when people support the APNU? How you don't know that? Y'all screwed the process up. Admit to your supporters, to those young people who would like to learn the process, that you got greedy and you got arrogant. And in the process, you've taken this situation where it is now. Very simple. Give us 2 committees. No. We want to bury the PNC. Can you imagine that's being said to us? 2 committees? Okay, give us the vice chairmanship. No. Where's your friend, brethren? This man is your partner. Y'all will do very good as 2 young men. They were there supporting you as the vice chairman. In fact, they elevated you to that. No. No. You would do best serving as the mayor. We suddenly turned boss. We have no outright majority in Region 10. Why are we misleading people? What Win got was the popular vote. If they had a majority vote, then they would have given themselves everything. Let me say further to this. What we knew, and let me tell you what they wanted to do. When the chairmanship would have been given, this is a 9-9. So let me explain this situation, this scenario. 9-9, wherever those 9 came from for each Mr. Blair and Mr. Goring. Think about it this way. Had Mr. Goring been given the chairmanship, and this was our concern when we had said to him, we would like the vice chairmanship. You know what was the intention when the chairmanship was given? The chairman carries a deciding vote. When you have a broker not honoring the Hume's principles within this negotiation of honesty, of ensuring that we have somebody to understand the environment within which we work, and I'm spelling out Hume's for you, to understand that as a good broker, we must come with mutual respect for each other. That's the M in the Hume's. And to have empathy, to understand these are people you knew and you know. But more than anything else in Hume's, to find solutions. How do you then get someone who have given you the impression that they want to bury you, the support, knowing that with the deciding vote, all they have to do is say, we will give ourselves the vice chairmanship. All the APNU did in Region 10 was to place a nominee in the race. That's all we did. Where Mr. Blair next votes came from, we are thankful by the grace of Almighty God. But no one can say where they came from. And I'm not talking the 4 more votes. I'm talking the entire 9 votes. I'm talking the entire 9 votes. Where Mr. Goring 9 votes came from, No one can say where they came from. No one can say where they came from. So it's most reckless to end to the point of who is a sellout and who working with who and who negotiating with who. I can say, I've said this, I am one of the principals involved in this matter, one of, and not a single party can say they were engaged by me or I engaged them. We had emissaries, of course, working in these environments, but they always worked under the Hume principle, the Hume's principle of honesty, understanding, mutual respect, empathy, solutions. We sent them out with that, sincerely so. And every time they went and returned, what we got was a response to say that the APNU is not going to have an honest broker. You don't have the majority. That is a fact. So what is the next rule of Politics 101? Politics 101 says that politics is about compromise and consensus. Compromise and consensus. You don't have the majority. Then you have to come to the table with someone. We came to the table with you. All right, the APNU is now worthy. What does it say about win then? If our 5 is not worthy, are you not going to go to the table with no one else? No one else in the region deserves to have the vice chairmanship? Because that is where it started. All we can attribute that is to greed, and more so arrogance. And when you didn't get what you want, what did you do? You went just like with the Bosai matter and misrepresented and lied to the public, and then tried to implicate the APNU of working with the PPP. How did we end up there? How do you justify that? How do we move from saying to you, we would like 2 committees to being accused of colluding with the People's Progressive Party? How did we move from that? Of offering you win the chair. We said to you, you will get the chairmanship, Mr. Mark Gorin. We said that. 2 committees. Your response was double. No, our intention is to bury the People's National Congress. Humes, we ain't back down. Art of Dialogue said that we will engage even in the most brutal warfare. No one stops speaking. You must find a backdoor channel. Maintain dialogue. We will come for the vice chairmanship. No. Even someone who worked with you, someone who sacrificed and placed their political career on the line and helped you, Mr. Gorin, you don't think you can work with Mr. Blair as your vice chairman? No. He will do well staying in the council as the mayor. We already have our vice chairman. They give us the name of the vice chairman. To the vice chairman come talking to us. No. Now, how did we move from those 2 positions to we walking with the PPP when the PPP doesn't even have a nominee in the race? It is we who do. So when you don't get your way, what do? You come now to an ignorant public, very excited nevertheless to learn. Young people were now gravitating, excited about this process, a demographic that we have never seen so actively turned on to mislead them. To mislead them. When you were given the chairmanship twice, you're misleading the public now and lying to them again, like you did with the Bosai matter. I wasn't the one who called you out on Bosai. It was the union representative. Check the man page. He said you lie. He said you misled the public. And here again Friday, you went misleading the public. When the APNU and the Art of Dialogue said, we have not closed the doors. None will be closed. Even if far the door go for some backdoor channel. The worst warfare in the world, people been talking. We not at that stage. How did we ended up here? Greed. Arrogance. Immaturity. Amateur behavior. And where nationally we got the confession from executives of the party that their ultimate conquest man in Region 10 misled them. Or maybe the man was correct that it was all or nothing. And they didn't even win the majority. They have the popular votes among a four-party contest. They never took time to even explain these very simple and basic things to young people with a desire to learn. They never explained to young people that what they have done is surrendered a portion of their sovereignty to councillors, to a mayor, to a chairman who makes decisions on their behalf in a representative democracy. Never explained those things. Just went out saying, I am the chairman. And when we didn't get it, how do we go back to those people and explain that there is a process and our actions are what caused us to be where we are in this process? You want to blame everybody else. Lying and misleading the whole country about what happened in Region 10. And all it becomes is the loudest noise on social media, you know. Nobody is speaking with receipts. I can say, I just give to you exactly what occurred, and not a single soul can refute what is being said. You know why? Because we speak with receipts. They were given the opportunity, just give the APNU 2 committees. No. We want to bury the PNC in Region 10. This is what is said to us. This is what is said to us. All right? Humes, give us the vice chairman. No. What is your buy Damo? And put the career on the line for you, Mark. You can't work with Dominique. Serious? In essence, y'all used to work anyhow because it's you, he, and Deran. What happened? Vice chairman can't move the party? No. So how we ended up with we colluding with the PPP when we were speaking with Win? Yeah, y'all gotta know that. But you know, Win got a lot of social media noise. A lot of social media noise. Nobody can refute what we are saying now. And further to that, I ain't gonna let the point ride with how the votes turned out. Because not a single person can say who voted for Dominique Blair and who voted for Mark Gorin at those elections. Nobody. No one can say who gave Dominique Blair his vote. They can't even say if Dominique himself voted for himself. We don't even know them. We don't even know them. How can the press, how can the news put that out there? How can they do that for Region 10? What kind of reckless journalism is that? But it's not reckless. It's called desperation. Because we have to say to these people who we excite, but did not teach about the process after the 1st of September and how we foul it up. The leadership of Win in Region 10 that got them where they were. They can't explain that to those people. So then what you do? Come out just like with the Bosai matter and lie to misrepresent what occurred. You heard Mr. Gorin's interview immediately after that election. And I'll close with this. You all heard Mr. Gorin's interview. He expected the APN. He is disappointed in the APN as he expected them to vote for him. What sort of arrogance is that when the APNU have a nominee in the race? I don't think it was arrogance. That was a level of certainty. Because further to that conversation, he said we did a U-turn. Wink, wink. Where were we going that he knew we turned back? And who turned back? We did a U-turn. We did a U-turn. Who turned back, Mark? Can you imagine that? We have a nominee in this race. We have expectations that our councillors will stand firmly behind our nominee. That's our expectation. We've already, before getting to Friday, weeks before now, show our emissaries using the Hume's principle in the art of negotiations to avoid what occurred on Friday. But you still expected us to go in what direction that we U-turned? It is important for those, especially young people. You know, these type of live are long lives. You know, people ain't got the patience. Some people ain't got the time. And that's okay. It's important that we do two things for our young people. And I'm very, very encouraged. I'm probably more excited than these young people who are getting engaged in politics. I try my best to take a shave today. I know my friend called me today. He said, before you go back on any line, cut your hair and shave. I come from the old school. If it works, don't break it. So my barber is my barber. And once he's not available, which he's not, it's hard for me to get a cut and a shave. But I will. But I get a little old, so the gray showing up. But what I will not do is mislead our young people. What I will not do is, with this demographic that have shown this enthusiasm in this 2025 election, I've never seen. I can't say I care what they voted, but I'm more excited for their involvement. But now that we have your attention, young people, do not let people mislead you. Take the time to look at all of the information and gather your thoughts, interpret for yourselves, and don't let anyone mislead you. Don't let anyone mislead you. You know, when I done talking what they can try to do, like I said, no one can, Mr. Gorin cannot say what I'm saying to you is not true. He in particular. And if I say I got my receipts, he in particular cannot deny what we are saying. Because our emissaries spoke to him directly. Let me say further, I just wanted to close. At the last point of engagement, at the very last point of engagement, before Friday, Mr. Gorin was asked to engage yours truly. Very last point. Somebody say, best person to approach at this time would probably be the mayor. I have not seen or heard from Mr. Gorin since. Maybe that U-turn was with some amount of certainty. I don't know. Maybe that call for a no secret ballot was just a weak call because we had some amount of certainty. I don't know. Because I know for me, and this is where knowledge and education comes in, once sworn in as a council, you're in charge of the standing orders of the meeting. No clerk or RU can tell you what to do. You're a council. He is taking instructions from that council, even without a chairman. So again, amateur, immature, don't know what to do, and then you come out complaining. Any council could have stopped a secret ballot or an open ballot or call for whatever ballot they wanted. There's nothing wrong with that. It is the prerogative of the council, based on the standing orders of any council, to decide the conduct of an internal elections of that council. He should know that. But I want to believe that was a very weak call, because maybe we had more certainty that we could make in that Kaichur News interview that you're disappointed in the APNU councillors. How so? We have a man in the race. More so, we made a U-turn from where were we going or supposed to go? And so confusing that we sided with the PPP. The PPP never had a candidate in the race or a nominee. We did. We didn't have to side with nobody. We were hoping even you would have sided with us in that secret ballot. And nobody know. Maybe you probably voted for Mr. Blair. And if you did, thank you. So thanks everyone. This matter needed that clarity of all of the misrepresentation The APNU, we have our 5 councillors. We are certain that they will bring to you in this region right, proper, strong representation. We are not new to engagement. We are always open to working in the best interest of all Guyanese, ensuring that people are placed front and center of development. And once you're part of that journey, you best believe we are walking that with you. We entered these negotiations with Mr. Gorin, not with clenched fists, you know. We went in with our extended hands, our extended arms. That's how we went into this. As honest brokers using the Hume's principles of negotiation, which says we're honest, H. We have an understanding of where we are, U. We come with mutual respect for you, you're new. And we have empathy where you stand and where we stand. And at the end of it, we must all be solution-oriented humans. You said no to even that. So, public, Region 10, Guyana. Region 10 has now become a place to focus from Friday to now of misrepresentation of what occurred. We were sincere in our approach. We have not sold to anyone. We have not been bought by anyone. The circumstances, however, did not even provide or provided for that. But we know people who showed up on our councillors' doorsteps. We know of the multiple phone calls that our councillors received on the morning Friday. So thanks everyone. Have a blessed, pleasant rest of your Sunday. I know that there is much more things to discuss. You know, I am always someone with so much to do. We have in the municipality the soon impending resignation of yours truly. And people might say, but how come you're gone from this place yet? Well, let me just put that quickly into perspective. Legally, you know, in politics, power carries 4 elements, and one of the elements, so you may say power, not power, I'm humble, but power in itself carries a few elements, and one of those 4 elements would be legitimacy. Legitimacy comes from having your swearing-in ceremony. So legitimately, the only office I've been sworn into is the office of mayor. And when that time comes for the MP, which I hope the president doesn't delay any longer. So soon we will have a new mayor. And in the meantime, I will continue to execute on behalf of the good people of Linden my duties and ensure that we continue to give you right, proper, strong representation. Do have a blessed, pleasant rest of the evening.
Yes. You want to tell me all these years, Mohammed and his father and all of them is a part of PPP that had gone at the PPP office, Freedom House on Rob Street, protecting the PPP from the black people and PNC. And all the time you there in there, you never see that they ill-treating black people, they killing out black people. You never see this corruption within this party. All the time you, your family, your uncle, your father, your sister, your mother, everybody supporting this party. Y'all never see that this party is corrupt. Never at no point in time until sanctions start raining down upon you and you expect them to cover you. And they did not cover you. They took away all your gold and diamond license and your business license, your cambio license, and you get upset. And then you started to decide, you know what, I can run for election to get rid of the sanction, and I can run.
At Big Bird Transportation Service, we specialize in safe, fast, and dependable delivery transportation for businesses and individuals. Whether you're sending a small package across town or need scheduled deliveries for your company, we're here to make sure your items arrive on time, every time. Our team is committed to providing efficient logistics solutions with a personal touch. With a fleet of well-maintained vehicles and experienced drivers, we handle every delivery with care, from pickup to drop-off. Why choose Big Bird? On-demand and scheduled deliveries. Local and regional coverage. Secure and professional handling. Customer-first service. Call us today at 929-329-9938 and let Big Bird take your deliveries to the next level.